Hi, Jim Ziegler, the Alpha Dog, and I've got one heck of a show for you today. And I've been wanting to say this forever. Space, the final frontier. Today we're going to talk about Space Auto. We're going to talk about a company that is rapidly making news all over the country in the automotive sector. But before we get up to talking about Space Auto, what they do, who they are, and what they can do for you, let's talk about the players on the broadcast. We're starting with Chris Sturm. Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Doing well today. How are you, Jim?
Having the best day of my life. I can't help but admire that beard.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, where are you from?
I'm here in Tyler, Texas, sir.
Tyler, Texas. Patterson Automotive Group.
Patterson Automotive Group. Yes, sir. Been with them for about 4 years now.
What are you selling?
Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Hyundai vehicles, sir.
Fantastic. I was talking to a General Motors dealer yesterday. We're talking about Silverado trucks, and he said to me, he said, we're starting to get a lot of INRA. Ram is starting to kick us. I said, yeah, Ram is starting to kick everybody. So anyway, welcome to the broadcast.
Thank
And
you.
we got Jarek Griffin. Hello, Jarek.
Hey, Jim, what's happening?
Tell me who you are, what you do.
So I'm Chief Services Officer at Space Auto, and I have the pleasure to work with guys like Chris and Dwight every day.
Oh, man. I didn't expect you to suck up this early.
Turn that notch down a bit.
Okay. What do you do as services officer for the company?
So I'm going to be looking out for all of our different services, heading up our customer service team. So that's our customer-facing folks, which are our pro marketers, our most important people in the whole company, because they are the ones servicing our clients, talking to them. They're their first point of contact, making sure they have everything they could possibly want or need to make their dealership successful.
Fantastic. And Taylor Bartholomew. Now, if you go on the space website and you see a picture of Taylor, he doesn't look anything like that.
I try to maintain a dark mystery,
That guy looks like a bit player in a Dracula movie. You got to change that photo.
Yeah. Well, like Count Chocula. Yeah.
What do you do with Space Auto, big guy?
So I'm the chief product officer. I'm really looking out for the end customer. I oversee all of our product design, and so I'm making sure that all of our products, even helping out with services, but like our website platform, some new stuff we have in the pipeline, all feels incredible and solves problems for our customers, and making sure that we're going to shake up the automotive industry.
Fantastic. And one of the newer clients for Space is Dwight Johnson. Hey, Dwight, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good, Jim. Doing good.
Who are you, Dwight? What do you do?
So I'm the general manager at Raymond Motor Company. We're located in a small town called Center, Texas.
What's the name of the town?
Center, Texas.
I have been there. They got both city limit signs on the same stick.
Yes, sir.
Center, Texas. So and you're one of the newest clients of Space.
Yes, sir. That is correct. I met Nick along the way, and as this, before I became the general manager here, and when he started Space Auto, I, trusted Nick, and seen how great he was at what he do, and wanted to be a part of it.
Okay, fantastic. And now we're going to get back to an old friend of mine, the driving force with Space Auto. Hello, Nick Askew. How are you?
I'm fantastic. If I was any better, I'd be you.
Whoa. Say that again.
Sorry. If I was any better, I would be you.
You have an accent. Are you from Alabama?
Oh, I'm from deep Alabama. It's real south. This is a speech impediment, Jim. I'm from England originally, but I try and come to the automotive industry and living in Dallas now, and I just try and fit in as best as I can. When people can understand me.
Nick, I met you probably 4 or 5 years ago, and we became friends at that time. And you've got a history in automotive, and tell me how you got into this sector.
Yeah, so I was, in fact, I was broke selling cars, Jim, and needed a job. So I said, I'm going to sell some Nissans today, and worked with that for a little while in retail. Spent 8 years in retail. I was a salesperson. Went through F&I, sales manager, and internet director as well. Ended up taking a lot of management and leadership responsibilities, and said, I want to take this out of the group that I'm working in, even if it was multi-rooftop, and say, hey, can I turn you guys into clients instead of employers? And let me go and try and solve some problems for the automotive industry, and just create the things that I wish I had. That's it with our team. Our customer service, our products and everything is just what I wish I had back in the day.
So anyway, how did you get into Space Auto?
So we actually, my first company outside of retail was a marketing agency called Luminary 2. And we did a lot of things, solved a lot of problems with technology, not just in the automotive retail space, but also in automotive training applications, in warranties.
That's where I met you.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you and I became friends. Initially, you were training, you were recruiting, you were doing a lot of that. Yeah. And now you transition. You're with Space. What exactly does Space do? What do you offer? What do you do for the clients?
So Space is a marketing and sales technology company that helps drive more traffic to a dealership and help them accurately spend money and reduce wasted ad spend and increase opportunities to do business. We are there as a marketing partner that also happens to have the technology to be able to serve the dealership outside of just running ads.
Fantastic. So I see we brought Chris and we brought Dwight on as clients. What do you do for them? What services do you offer?
So with the Patterson Group at first, we actually have quite a few of their dealerships on everything from our website platform to paid marketing to SEO and content. We've got great content teams that even will come out and shoot everything from full commercials to content libraries. And we actually help the Patterson Group position themselves, generate traffic, generate opportunities, and then also just consult on making sure that their marketing goals match their business goals. I think that's the thing with every dealership is you've got great leaders on the ground floor that want to achieve things. And it's not up for us as marketers to say, hey, this is what you should be doing. We need to understand what your goals are, and then we'll align our marketing goals to that. Just so, just like Dwight here, Raymond is a great client of ours, and they're new in our relationship. And the reason that we're finding success is, like, Dwight came to us and we didn't say, hey, we've got all these products, Dwight, you should sign up for them all. We slow down, we take time to figure out where Dwight actually is on his mission. And whether that is us pausing for a second and say, hey, let's start small. And once we can generate a good ROI, we can help you grow together. And that's where Dwight is today. So he actually doesn't opt in for all of our products, but it's by design, because I would much rather see a dealership be successful than say, hey, we just want to take your money.
That's what impressed me about Space. When I started looking into what you do, and you offer so many services, but the point is you don't need to buy or partake of everything that Space offers. And you're more about the client's results than most companies that I've ever seen in the business. What's your take on that, Taylor?
Yeah, I didn't come up in automotive. And it was really interesting coming into this industry and seeing the state of technology. I was coming from music technology. And so I started a conversation with Nick, and he had this vision for Space. And, he wanted my help to figure out, how do we launch this? How do we productize these agency services and turn them into something that scales properly? So I started doing some research and looking at what was out there. And it seemed to me very quickly that there was other agendas everywhere in automotive tech that wasn't just take care of the customer, like, whether it's, making the OEM happy or making sure that it's compliant for this, or that the GM gets this thing, it seemed like they were doing everything besides like just looking at what the customer wanted to do, and trying to simplify and make that experience really delightful. And so, that counts from when they see a Facebook ad or when they come to your website. And so, really what our mission is here is like, how do we bring it back and call back automotive technology, websites, everything, and make it just simple and delightful to use. And I think we live in a time where we've all been screwed over by the internet. We've all been like, we've seen dark patterns, we've seen shady stuff, we've all been manipulated. And I think everyone, no matter how old you are, has experienced that enough where we're all kind of like thick-skinned. And I see some of those dark patterns still existing in the industry, and those things that aren't meant to take care of customers. I think that really turns people away. And so, here in 2022, I think really the most important thing you can do for your business is just genuinely take care of the people that want to do business with you. Make it easy for customers to find your dealership. Like, if you're doing that's going to be way more effective than doing, some plug-in add-on that you think will do this and that. It's way more simple than that.
No, we have a viewer, Bernardo D. Williams. How are dealers going to best transition to digital retailing without disrupting their current sales process?
Ooh.
Who wants to grab that one?
Nick, do you want to take that one?
That is a great question. I think that most dealers have had this weird experience with technology, right? It's like, if we think about 20 years ago, and then we started having, e-car lists, we had those kind of sites where it's like, oh, now we have inventory sites, this is great. We've continued to bolt on different services, such as now you can evaluate a trade online, your credit application, we can do soft pulls, and lots of dealers' websites are built up with lots of these individual tools. So this question, going to digital retailing, this is another thing that I think is an issue in the automotive industry right now, is that you've got two separate processes. You've got the guy that wants to call in and set an appointment, and your sales manager goes, get him in. Let's set him an appointment, roll out the red carpet.
Get him in. How many times have I heard
that? Let's peel them off the ceiling, make some gross, we'll all high five later. But then your other person, now your customer number two, they're the Carvana customer, right? They want to come on and do everything online, but you've got your website, and then sitting on top of it, a plug and play digital retailing suite. It's hard enough to get dealers to follow one process inside a dealership, never mind now two, right? I think the people that are going to solve this, to answer Mr. Williams' question right now, the people that are going to solve this, no matter whether the customer is 10,000 miles or 10 feet away from you, you need to follow the same process. You should have one central place where you are dedicated to answering questions and customer service, and you shouldn't be looking at 10 different vendors to sell cars online.
That's one thing I really was impressed with Space. Space is one call, that's all. I mean, you've got a plethora of services that you offer, different modalities that you can install in the dealership. Digital retailing isn't working the way everybody thought it was going to work.
No. Consumers
are not fully transacting on the internet. We've talked about this in many forums. It's amazing that people assume that people are going to Carvana the deal all the way through the end. But guess what? They're still physically coming in the dealership. Is that your experience, Chris?
It is. And one thing that I haven't heard anyone say that I think is so important in this is what you cannot lose is the human interaction. You have to have transparency. As I think Nick mentioned, it was Taylor. Everybody's been suckered something on the internet where they were taken advantage of, and so I think a lot of people have that perception when they come into a store or when they see an ad. And I think you have to answer people's questions honestly and immediately, and you have to listen, and you have to kind of go through the process the way they want to go through it. And if you do that, you gain a customer, not just now, but for in the future and possibly forever, because many people aren't experiencing that.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. So you still have to have the human. How is space assisting you with these processes?
I think the biggest thing is they listen. They do work with us on our SEO. They do work with us on our paid marketing. But at any point in time, I can pick up the phone. I can talk to someone. There is immediate connection. I have built relationships with Jarek, with Nick, with other people at the company.
I saw that when we were chatting during the pre-show before we went on the air of the broadcast. The camaraderie with you and Dwight and the people at Space. I mean, you genuinely like the people you're dealing with.
Absolutely. I mean, everyone communicates. Few people actually connect. You have to be open, willing to do that, and that's one of the things that I've enjoyed about working with them is they actually care, and I think that's the biggest secret in any industry or transaction. It doesn't matter what your whether it's a car business or anything else, you actually have to care, and they do.
What do they do specifically for you? I'm going to get to Dwight here in the same question in a minute. What services that Space offers are you using at the Patterson Group?
Well, I can let Nick go with that too, but we've done everything from designing our website to our paid marketing, our SEO every month, you name it. I mean, I hand over the keys to Nick almost and just say, here you go. You guys take care of me. And they do. And I'm seeing results from that.
What I'm sort of hearing here is that Space is handling all of your technology needs. And whether you're a small dealership or medium-sized dealership, if you're privately owned, Space can basically handle any technology needs that you have. You select the item off the menu, and that's what you buy, and you don't buy all the services.
Yes. Correct. And we didn't start out that way. We started out just one piece of it, and then we've evolved slowly as we felt like we weren't having our needs met in that area.
Fantastic. Dwight Johnson, small dealership, Center, Texas.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we can talk about the big mega dealerships all day long, but you've got a different set of circumstances. How many people in your town?
5,000.
Exactly. They all know each other. They all talk to each other. So what's different about working with Space? What services have they done for you?
One of the big differences working with Space versus the other companies is, that personal connection, and they actually listen to what you want. I had a call with Nick. I told him, hey, we're in a small town. I'm definitely wanting to grow the dealership, and I need your help, reaching outside of, the city of Center. And I gave Nick what I was looking for, and Space Auto, they came up with the plan for us. I've worked with several other companies, and anybody can send you leads. Anybody can generate leads. One thing that I've seen with Space Auto is the quality of leads.
Wait, so they're generating leads. They're working on your website. What else are they doing for you?
And they handle our Facebook ads as well. Nick and the team, they'll call me once a month or, every 2 weeks and say, hey, Dwight, what do you want to focus on? And I told them, hey, new cars right now are selling for themselves because of the shortage. So let's focus on used. And, they've done a great job of that with our Facebook ads. That they're driving our used cars on Facebook, and we've seen a huge increase in our used car sales because of that.
Fantastic. So what I'm hearing is anything you need, they'll switch hats in a heartbeat, you know?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. In a heartbeat. And one thing that I definitely liked about Space Auto when I signed up with them is I used multiple marketing companies before I reached out to Nick. And one thing that I also liked is they're not pushing products on you. Just because they have them to sell doesn't mean it may fit your
Wow,
business.
that is absolutely. Let's talk about that again. They're not requiring you buy their products. They're not pushing product on you. They're saying what is good for your dealership, and that's what they're concentrating on. So they're not pushing product, but how many vendors do you think they have replaced?
I know for me alone, they have replaced 3.
So there's 3 vendors, and they're doing the services that all 3 of these vendors did. That's what I want the audience to pick up on today.
Yes, sir.
You know, you don't need all the vendors you're now paying separately for all these services when you can have this one call type situation. Is that what you're experiencing? You know, at
Yes,
your
sir.
dealership, Chris?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know, and I would say that's one of the greatest things is they will share things that they see that are working, maybe in other markets or that they're seeing some success with. They'll bring it up in conversation, but it's never, you need to be doing this. You've got to be doing this right now. Hey, we've seen this work here. If it's something you want to try in the future, it might be something to consider. And it's really that simple. And I think that's the thing that I like about it the most is that, there's that level of trust because I don't feel like they're just pushing their agenda. They're doing what's best for our store specifically.
Fantastic. We haven't heard much from you. What's your take on this conversation? Jump in here.
So all the things that Dwight and Chris are bringing up are really important, going all the way back to the digital retailing element to the different products and services that we offer and which ones make sense to the client. So from a product and service side, the digital retailing thing is a perfect segue into that. And Nick touched on it, but it goes back to a personal touch, which Chris mentioned. If from a digital retailing perspective, you want to give your customers as a dealership 2 options. They either want to talk to somebody or they don't. You give them those 2 options. You don't make it any more complicated than that, because when you've got 5 or 6 different call to action buttons on your VDP on your website, for example, you're lowering your conversion rate and you're decreasing the quality of your leads. That transitions all the way over to what we do from a service perspective for the dealership clients, because we're not talking about the word Patterson or the word Raymond, which are the names of the dealerships for Chris and Dwight. We're talking about them. We're using their first names. We're talking about them as people. We're talking to them as people. And so that comes up with Dwight, because in Dwight's situation, he's not on our website platform because it doesn't make sense for his dealership to be on our website platform right now. And whereas Chris, they have their group website on our website platform, but not their OEM sites. All of that, like Nick mentioned earlier, is by design. So we're doing paid marketing and SEO for Dwight. We're doing those same services for Chris. We're also doing video marketing for Chris, which is a separate service that we offer that does not make sense for Dwight's dealership right now. And so just like
slow down, explain.
Hey, you wanted me to cover a lot, little amount of time. We got to go fast.
Hey, let's get down to base level here. Video marketing. Tell me about that.
So
we're
I have
video marketing right now.
We absolutely are. So I have a background in broadcast. Actually, my previous job before coming for Space Auto was working for a local television station in the Tyler Longview market. And there's a lot of things about that as part of our creative service. So video marketing alone is part of our overall creative service that encompasses more than just video. But the video specifically is a good kind of touch point there, because unlike traditional TV where, and I did this before, so I can say it, you sell an ad, a 30-second spot during the Wheel of Fortune, even though you've got the Nielsen and all that kind of stuff that gives you a general ballpark estimate, in reality, you have no idea how many people saw your ad. You have no idea who they were, what their demographics are, and you certainly don't know if they're in the market for a vehicle. And so what we provide is a way to reach people who are in market for those products and services. And then we also make sure that we're not overspending on that. So whereas you could spend $20,000 a month in a traditional TV budget and not really know what you're getting from it, we can say pay 20% of that, and we'll put that toward our video marketing service and make sure it only gets seen by the people who are in market. And then we can report back on how many of those people watched it, how long did they watch it, did they watch the entire thing?
Tracking in-market buyers, amazing, absolutely amazing. Let me go back to Taylor. He's jumping up and down like a little puppy over here. Get in on this, Taylor.
Yeah, man. I mean, okay, we're coming on your podcast, and yeah, of course, we want to talk about how great our products are, and I do think they're legitimately.
I want to know what your products are, all of them. I want to know all your services. I want to know what you offer you, because nobody, what you've told us so far, what I've heard from you and Jarek and Nick is nobody is using all of your services. Some of your customers using some of your services, some are using others. I want to know about everything you guys do. Space has such a plethora of products. Tell me.
One of the first things that Nick and I did were we looked at the product offering that they were currently offering in the agency setting, and we said, how do we make this super clear? Like, you look in the automotive industry and everything's like, dealer this, something fire, like whatever. It's all this different, like wild, like stuff. It doesn't tell you what it is. And so what we tried to do was say, like, what problems do we solve, and just tell people what it is. And so it really comes down to like 4 basic offerings. It's our website platform. So inventory, marketing, website for your dealership. We've got an SEO and content service. So we'll make sure that your website's enriched with great content that's going to perform well on Google. We have a paid marketing service that's going to do paid digital ads that are going to bring people to your website. And hopefully the website does its job and converts them into customers. And then we have creative, which Jarek just touched on, is that extra content, that extra stuff that's really going to grab people's attention. And part of that is a vision for this whole flow. And yes, like our products do serve individual things, and people can pick and choose what they want. But really the big vision for us is something a lot bigger. And it's kind of flipping the automotive industry kind of on its head a little bit, and well, not a little bit, a lot of bit, and make it feel like one fluid process.
People are talking about you. I mean, you're creating a lot of buzz, and not just in Texas. I'm telling you. So, you're actually the technology consultant for the companies. I mean, any technology applications. Are you doing anything with Google My Business, Google Profiles?
Yes, we absolutely are. Jarek is the expert there. I'll let him jump in on that.
Let me jump in there. Jarek.
Yeah, so Google My Business is part of our SEO and content service offering.
It's now called Google Profiles. That really pissed me off. They changed the name of it.
They've changed the name of it several times. So yeah, if you don't keep up with it, you'll definitely be calling it out.
Google Profiles. I have a friend that wrote a book called How to Use Your Google My Business, and then they changed the name of it. He published this book.
Yeah, I wouldn't write a physical book about it for sure. It'll change before it gets published.
Oh, what are you doing with that?
So the Google My Business listing is something that's been really, really beneficial for our clients from an SEO perspective, because prior to them becoming the #1 organic search result for Google, they were a good tool. They were important, but now they're the most important tool. So it is free. A lot of people don't really know all the ins and outs of it. There are some clients that we come across that they haven't claimed their Google My Business listing yet. So when they start with us, we help them do that before they even send us their very first check, the very first month working with us. That actually happened last week.
Dwight shaking his head over there. Was that you, Dwight?
Yes, sir, it was.
Hang on one second. You came in this dealership. You had to completely restructure everything in the dealership, and Space reconfigured or configured your GMB, your Google My Business?
Yes, sir, they did. And one thing that I liked is, they took the lead. A lot of times you deal with these companies and, they want you to send them the check, but you have to do all the work. And one thing I like about Space Auto is, I sent Jarek and his team and over all the information, and, they captured my business for Google, and I didn't have to do any work. At a small dealership like this, I wear a lot of hats here, and I'm tied up doing a lot of things. And so that's another thing that I liked about Space Auto is I give them the idea and they run with it. There's no work that I have to do. And that's one of the pros of using them is that. And another thing that I really that caught my attention about Space Auto is anytime you sign up, we all know when you sign up with these marketing companies, they want you to sign these 6-month, 12-month contracts. When I talked to Nick and Jarek and the team, the first thing they said is, hey, there is no contract that you have to sign. It's month to month. What that tells me is they're confident in what they do.
Month to month. Now that's important.
And that's one thing that was really eye-opening for me. The last few marketing companies that I had used, they wanted a 6-month to 12-month contract. And, when Nick and Jarek told me, hey, we're confident in what we do. We'll do month to month. And if you don't like, what we're doing, then, hey, we appreciate it and you can move on. And I can tell you, I have been very, very excited about what they have done for us here at our store.
Fantastic. Susan O'Rourke on the sidebar says, I guess the question is, how do you define digital retailing and what it means to the dealership? Digital retailing can mean a lot. I view digital retailing as the transactional retailing on the website that has the least amount of human interaction. That's the way I view it. Nick, jump in there a second.
Yeah, I think it's a great question because I think it actually means something different to every dealer. Digital retailing, to me, means that technology is used to enhance the deal, right? And whether that is end-to-end signing contracts, buying warranties, everything online, or just using that as a tool to be able to move the transaction. Good technology should blend seamlessly into the process. It's about the sales process, and the technology shouldn't be extra steps, right? It could be just a communication transaction thing. Here's my trade information. Here's my steps. The reason why I say it should be different for every dealership is because every dealership's got to transition to this, right? You've got a culture change. You've got your old school sales managers that say, hey, just get them in, right? And then now they get the internet director to go install a digital retailing thing. And now the sales manager feels like they can't control their own paycheck, right? And the adoption rate is all over the place. As Jim says earlier, digital retailing hasn't had the adoption we thought. There's certain OEM out there that I'm not going to name that said, hey, we want all of our sites to have this particular retailing thing on. They got it across all of this OEM's new car websites.
We're not going to mention the name of that company, Stellantis, but we're not going to.
We're not going to, and it's definitely not Nissan either. And what happened is their adoption rates were so slow and so low. And the reason being is because it's like buying a house, right? If everything goes well, you get the appraisal you need, you get your financing you need, you're all good. But salespeople are problem solvers. How often, Dwight, Chris, do you work a car deal and there's no problems to solve?
Never.
Very rarely.
Exactly.
Never.
And that's where the human interaction needs to come in. So a long answer to your short question there, Susan, is that it's the dealership has to define what they're ready for digital retailing, because if not, there's going to be a huge culture problem in that dealership itself, and they've got to get buy-in from everyone. And
here's Bobby Compton on the sidelines. I know Bobby. He's a record-setting manager. When they push political age over positive business practices, we have a serious problem. Does that encapsulate everything the space stands for?
Yes, we're for the dealer, man. That's it. Dealerships are their own businesses. That's who we're going to make sure everything's brand right. We're compliant, but at the end of the day, we don't owe anything to the OEM. We owe them to the people that are out there on the front line selling the cars. So
I'm loving what I'm hearing, and you were hearing about the processes, and the audience is starting to get fired up on the sidebar. I'm seeing a lot of conversation happening from the different groups on Facebook. Back to Susan O'Rourke. How does the dealership define digital retailing? Let's stay on that subject just a moment. Retailing has been so beat around that car business. Everybody's talking about it, and digital retailing is not a vendor. Yeah, that's the biggest thing I got to say. Digital retailing is a philosophy. And let me ask Chris Sturm a second. Chris, how many off-site deliveries are you guys doing?
More and more, I would say. It's definitely increasing.
Well, give me a number in perspective. If you're doing digital at home delivery, business delivery, taking the car to the people, transacting online, they don't come in the dealership, how much of that's happening?
Probably in the last year, it's up 10%, 15%.
Okay, so it's growing, but it's not the major part of your business by any means.
It's not. It's not the major part of it, but it's definitely a growing section of our business that people want to do business that way. And you have to adapt to doing business that way. One of the comments that I saw earlier is, talking about vendors versus partners. And I think that's one of the things I've enjoyed so much about Space is I do feel like it's a partnership. They do help me solve the problems that come up. As you asked the question, I think Nick did, how often is it the same or you don't have a problem to solve? Never. I mean, every single transaction is different, and because every person is different. And I think that's what they help us solve is when those things come up, hey, how do I do this? You make a phone call or a text message or a email, and you've got an answer quickly.
Fantastic. I'm going to jump in, go back to Nick a second, because we got one of the viewers on the sidebar. It's Bernardo Williams again. Carvana. How can dealers control gross profits with self-serve providers like Shift?
Yeah. So we can't have a talk about digital retailing without talking about everybody's favorite company, Carvana, right? So yeah, that's the thing, is that it doesn't have to be scary. Technology can be used as an asset to your dealership, right? There's no reason that you can't price to market. There's no reason that you can't, still hold some gross, right? There's no reason that you can't make back-end profit by it and using technology as a way to communicate with your customer. I think a big thing is that people assume that they have to be the lowest price in the market. I'll tell you, if you market your vehicles well, you take care of your people, and you build fans in your community, people will pay what the car's worth. Now, you can't obviously go and peel people off the ceiling and charge 10 grand over sticker on stuff.
Oh, yes, they can. Yes, they can.
They can. They might not be able to trade them out into next part of their trade cycle, but
they're not doing sales, they're doing weddings.
Yes, exactly. And those are the kind of dealerships that we like working with. Like the amount of gross that you make is your own business, right? But what we need to be able to do is have customers look at technology as something that makes the deal more efficient. If I'm sitting at home and I know I want to buy a car, there should be no reason that I send in a credit application online, it goes to your CRM, the sales manager prints it out, types it into DealerTrack, goes from there. Let's just use technology to connect two people, the person buying the car, person selling the car, and then dealers can be in control of their own profit. It doesn't have to go away. Technology and digital retailing doesn't mean you lose control over your net profit.
Let me ask you, if there was a number that somebody wanted to call you, what number would that be?
Well, I don't mind. They can call my cell phone number. It is 903-918-4699 if they really want to talk to me personally.
918
903-918-4699, and I'm happy to take calls personally.
That's amazing.
I'm not afraid.
I didn't expect your cell phone, but hey, jump up there, big boy.
I am here to help. Also, Jim, I'm going to be honest with you. I couldn't remember our 800 number off the top of my head.
Oh, that's terrible. Oh my gosh. Okay, so don't call their 800 number, even if you see it on the website. You want to call Nick on the cell personally. Midnight, he doesn't mind.
That's fine. Just wait 20 minutes till this podcast is over.
Absolutely. Small dealership. How much technology sales are you doing in a small dealership?
So we do a good amount. I would say because of the size of our town, probably 80 to 90% of our business is digital.
See, that's what I wanted to get at. Even in a smaller rural environment, a suburban environment, people are still going to the internet. They're shopping on the internet. Like I went to the doctor this morning, but I filled out my paperwork online before I went.
Yep.
I filled out the paperwork, but I still wanted to see the doctor. I didn't want to do a Zoom broadcast about whatever I went to the doctor for.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. It does. It does. And that's one thing that I, had talked to Nick about is when I got here, from 20 to 21, we were able to grow the dealership by a huge amount. And, like all of us in the car business, it's always what's next? How can we grow it more? And, I reached out to Nick and I said, hey, we're in a small town, but I see a great opportunity. This small town is surrounded by a bunch of other small towns. So we can turn that into one big city. And I need your help reaching those people. And that's been my business plan to continue to grow this dealership.
Let me ask you a question. I'm going to get to Taylor here in a second. Because once again, I see him bouncing over there, wanting to get into this conversation. But what major metropolitan market are you outside of?
I would say Houston would probably be the closest. Houston would probably be about 2.5, 3 hours.
So Houston would be where you want to actually steal your business.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You want to come in under the radar screen and capture some of that business.
Yes, sir. And so the Waste Center is located. We've got, I would say there's about outside of center within, I'd say an hour, either direction. There's probably about 100 to 150 people. And so I said, hey, the town of Center, they do a great job of taking care of us. But hey, how to grow this dealership? How can I reach the 150 outside of us and get to Houston?
150,000.
Yes, out if you were to take Center and all the surrounding areas, the smaller towns around. Because a lot of those smaller
space is accommodating that.
Yes, sir, it is. They're doing a great job.
Fantastic. Let me go over to Taylor a second.
Yeah, on the thought of digital retailing, it's interesting because what I've observed about it is that, we talked about this, like no one's really defined like what that is and where it stops and where it begins. And I think
nobody
it's because,
has. No, that's
the market hasn't figured out what people actually want to do. Like there was this assumption, it's like, oh, the internet exists, Carvana exists. People must want to buy cars online, and sure, like that could be true. Obviously the data shows that there's a certain degree of people that want to do like as much of the business as they can online. But I've watched hundreds and hundreds of user sessions using one of our analytics tool, and I just watch people click through the website, and I swear maybe except like 4 or 5 I've ever seen, people just go to search a vehicle and they just look at pictures. That's all they want to do on the website is they want to see like, is this the car that I see myself driving in? And so, I'm not saying that there isn't a place for digital retailing. It's just, I think we need to ask in a more clear way, what is the actual problem that we're trying to solve here? Have we actually looked at the customer journey and said, well, actually, like, we're just making a huge assumption that people want to do this, this, and this, but in all reality, and jumping to in September, I went ahead and bought a new car. It was kind of a great opportunity for me to learn about that process, like really firsthand. And I sat in a dealership for, no kidding, 4 hours while the salesman just asked me, what's your social security number? What's your name? What's your, it's just like, and it's like, oh my God, I wish I could do this like on my couch with Seinfeld going in the background. That's what I want. And, of course, I want to come in the dealership and put my hands on the steering wheel. And like, I want to reach over to the center console and like, does it feel cheap? And is it like creaking a bunch? Like I'm not saying people that buy cars completely online are crazy, but I mean, I think that people are always going to want to touch it and hold it. I think as a technology company, we have to. There
are people that will totally transact on the internet. I call them granola eaters. But
100% of them buy Priuses, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Golly. Did you want to jump in here for a second? I'm watching Nick over there.
Yeah, no, I think Taylor brings up a really good point, and it's nobody's figured this out yet. And I think the reason that nobody's figured it out is because they take this linear process. It's like when I was first taught to sell cars, this is your road to the sale, right? You're gonna meet and greet, you're gonna fact find, you're gonna walk around, you're gonna butterfly those doors, you're gonna every step of the way. I went to this. I better not dare go to the sales desk without having a test drive done. I'm gonna get it thrown right back at me. Go get the driver's car. It'll seal the deal, right? So when digital retailing solutions, and look, there's some great companies out there. There's room for all of us, right? I understand we're going to solve a very specific problem, but every tool that we've seen out there, it's also a linear process, right? You're going to start here, you're going to finish online. You can't start your credit application and your trade appraisal and finish somewhere else. And I think that's the key is modular flexibility in the deal, right? If I'm sitting at home and I do a credit application, I want to know if I'm improved. I want to know if you'll take my Volvo in on trade, because those things depreciate overnight. True story.
And you drive a Volvo.
My wife's got a Volvo S90. It's a beautiful car. It's a beautiful car, Jim. But yeah, that's the thing about it is
Volvo. Okay.
Don't let that decision sway you. We do good work. But the thing is that
Volvo.
Jim, don't ask me what my last car was. You'll really laugh.
Go ahead, Taylor. What was it?
Nick, I'm sorry to totally interrupt your thought here, but Nick, actually, Chris Sturm was here, and Jarek have all given me hell about this. When I started working at the company, I drove a 2009 Ford Escape. The back gate didn't work. There was a leak in the roof, and I figured out pretty quick that I can't be driving that hoopty around for very long working here.
No, you could trade up to a Volvo.
No, Jim, I went the BMW route. So
he did.
You didn't get a Volvo. Yeah.
No. Although Nick's previous car was a Volvo, and I thought it was sexy. It was a great car.
He traded a Yugo in on that.
Yeah, that's true. It had three wheels.
Let's get back to the core subject. We got 10 minutes to talk about it. What I want to know is when you call up and you get involved, you say, "Hey, Space Auto, I want to do business with you." And what is the first thing that happens? I guess I need to ask Jarek that question, right?
Yeah. So the first conversation we're going to have is just going to be all about you, the dealer, primarily the person who's actually there, actually knows the ins and outs of it. So Chris and Dwight are perfect examples of that. And we're going to say, hey, what are your pain points? Like, what are the things that are keeping you awake at night? What are the things that are costing you money? And then we'll have some questions for them to see if there's things that are costing them money that they may not even have thought about yet.
So like in a car sale, you're doing a needs assessment, as Nick mentioned earlier.
Basically, yeah, absolutely. It's a needs assessment, but it's also a wants assessment. Taylor didn't necessarily need the BMW, but he wanted it, so he bought it. And
He
one
needed
of the things,
the BMW, trust me.
he did, especially from the Ford Escape. It's really nice. But we want to figure out what their needs and wants are, and then figure out which of our products and services fit that, and then figure out, budget wise and strategy wise, what we need to do and when to make that successful for them. Earlier in the conversation, we talked about we do different things for Dwight's dealership versus Chris's group of dealerships, and that's by design. So we're going to come to them and, like you said, do that needs assessment, but then go a little bit deeper of that into a real strategy, because a lot of the things that Dwight and Chris have mentioned to us that they like is we don't have a cookie cutter approach. We don't copy and paste the same thing that we're doing for another dealership to them, because even though they're not that far apart in proximity, Chris's dealerships in Tyler, Texas have a way different clientele and demographic than Dwight's do in Center, Texas. So a copy and paste strategy, it wouldn't work for them. And we had a lot of dealership clients come to us, and that's what they're coming from. And even if they know it or not, that is the big problem, and we try to fix it for them.
What services are you using, Chris?
Well, and before I really kind of answer that, but I want to touch on something Jarek said, and as we how we start this process. One of the first things we did was our creating our website. We had at length conversations. I mean, we would talk on the phone 45 minutes, an hour about what worked, what I liked, what didn't work. I didn't want any pop-ups. I couldn't stand them. I would talk to other people. I would ask friends. I would ask family. I would ask acquaintances. What do you like? What do you not like? What drives you nuts? What turns you away? What is it that makes you want to buy this vehicle or can stay on this website or come see us or whatever? And what makes you immediately say, I gotta go. I gotta go. And so we would talk, and I would talk to Nick, and I would talk to Jarek, and we would just go back and forth about what worked, what didn't. And it was very in-depth, very detailed. And they would roll things out to me and say, okay, this is it so far. What do you think? What do you like? What do you not like? What do you want to see changed? And I would be able to ask questions of, this is what I think, but what's your experience with that? Does that work? Does that have good success from what you've seen? And they would say, yeah, that actually does. That's a great idea. Or no, Chris, that's absolutely a terrible thought, and you shouldn't do that. And I would listen.
That has always been my value to a dealership, was experiential observations. Because I had been to 1,000 dealerships, and I could bring 1,000 dealerships worth of experience to a dealer that's only exposed to limited number of other experiences of best practices.
Absolutely.
And that's best practices.
I only know what I've experienced. They've experienced so much more in other areas. And so the best thing I can do is ask questions and then listen and then trust them. But I'd built that relationship with them, or they had built it with me, that I did trust them. And I was able to say, okay, I'm going to try that. And then if it worked, great. And if it didn't, they immediately came back and said, hey, that's not working the way we thought it was. Let's do this. I think the biggest thing I wanted when we first created the website, that was the biggest thing we started with, is I wanted it to be easy. Again, we're taking buyers and sellers and we're trying to connect them. And I wanted it to be as simple as possible. I didn't want it to feel, I wanted it authentic, if that makes sense. And that's the biggest thing for me, is connection with my customer.
Fantastic. Nick, I'm going to put you on the spot. If somebody calls you at that number, if somebody calls you at that number, is there any possibility you could give them an assessment of what you could do for them?
Absolutely. It doesn't have to be long and drawn out. Like a needs assessment, it can be as simple as a conversation of, what's your short-term business goals? What are the problems that you're trying to achieve? Or they could just come to us with, hey, I don't know what we need. I'm coming to help. We have to take a consultative approach to get.
So you would take a consultative approach, and would you put other people in the company on the call? Like
absolutely. So if people call my cell, the reason that I'm giving this out right now is because I do want the chance to be able to build a relationship and make sure you're getting taken care of. We have a wonderful sales team that's able to go through all of this with them. We can handle the volume, and we just try and find out what makes a deal unique, right? As we put to add together.
How big is your team now?
We have a team of 27 full-time employees, including developers.
27 full-time employees. So
yes.
We're not talking just the people on the screen. We're talking about a pretty in-depth expertise.
From advertisers to developers to people that are processing your co-op dollars. I mean, we are here. We're boutique. We haven't got thousands of employees like some of those companies we won't mention, but we have a very strong group of people that can handle volume, that are dedicated to getting to know you, your dealership, and what makes you different.
Exactly. And if they go on your website, I want to point out the website is space.auto, not space.com or .net. It's kind of kinky there, but space.auto.
That's how we roll, Jim.
That's what we're going for.
We're edgy. Kinky. I like it.
Space.auto, AUTO. Let me just get, as we get down to the last couple of minutes we're together. What would you say that we haven't said so far?
I think, in a short time, I knew Nick had prior stops in the car business. I think the biggest thing with Space Auto is they feel like family, and they start to feel like family in a short amount of time. And they're a company that when you sign up with them, you have full trust that they're going to help you reach your goals. That's the thing that I can say about Space Auto.
Look at how casual this conversation's been. I mean, this is a broadcast about a business, but it is all casual. It's all friends. It's all camaraderie. I mean, and that's the feeling I get when you deal with Space Auto.
Yes, that's 100% the feel you get when you deal with Space Auto. I reach out to Jarek. I know it's funny that Nick gave out his cell phone, but that's actually the number I called to sign up with Space Auto.
Is it really?
Yes. I said I need a great marketing company. I want to grow our used car business. Let me call the British guy I met a few years ago and see if he's still doing the marketing thing. And sure enough, he was doing amazing. And that's how I became a part of Space Auto.
Well, this has been more like the Benny Hill show, Oh golly! As we wind down the broadcast, Chris, is there anything we haven't talked about?
No, I think we've covered a lot of it. I think Dwight said it best. They do feel like family. You do feel valued. There is that strong sense of trust. There's great communication. There's openness. It's the kind of partner you want to do business with, and it doesn't feel like it's not transactional. It's very authentic. And I think that's the biggest thing that I see and with the team. And, I'll call Jarek up or whoever and ask a question, what's going on? How are your kids? Or, you get to be friends because you talk so often and they care. And I think that's something that you can't fake.
That's the thing that impressed me. This will replace if you're a general manager, a dealer principal, general sales manager, even a service manager, if you're watching this broadcast right now, I want you to think about how many vendors you could replace with one vendor that is like service on demand. This is a boutique valet service. I mean, we're talking concierge. We're talking about when you're in a hotel and you call the concierge, and the concierge will do anything you need. Any booking arrangements, any concert tickets, limo, and whatever you need. Well, that's Space Auto. I mean, they will replace so many vendors. I'm gonna let Nick do the last minute and a half. Let me get your cell phone back on. So
there we go. Yeah. No, I appreciate that, and it really does come from an internal cultural thing. We don't have people on our team that don't genuinely care about our dealers, and that's why, I could call Dwight and I could have our salespeople say, "Hey, you need to sign up for this because you will get X, Y, and Z, and look at these metrics. An average dealer increases 30%, yada yada yada." Right? If we just listen before we sell, if we just slow down and say, what does the dealer have to do? What does the dealer have to achieve? Because it all can't happen overnight. There's their own culture, there's their own budget, right? And throwing more, and this is what I've always wanted to solve in automotive, especially advertising, is you can't solve your problems and build your business by sitting behind your desk and throwing more money at it. It takes work, it takes relationships, it takes building a culture on the ground floor. And all we want to do is be part of that culture and be part of great dealership success stories and give them the tools that they actually need to be successful, whether that is signing up for all of our products or just the things that make sense for them at this present
things
time.
that make sense to them. That's what impressed me. Well, guys, we've run a little over. We could probably talk forever. I especially want to thank Dwight and Chris for being on the show with us today.
Yes. Thank you.
I want to basically thank the people from Space for being here. I mean, it's incredible. I want to thank Taylor for providing me with a decent picture for the website.
You're welcome, Jim.
Look at this guy. He's smiling. You never know it. That photo on the website. Look at. Anyway, everybody say goodbye to the audience.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Jim.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.